Okay, so in this video I'll show you how the process starts for setting up and managing your different contacts that you're connecting with on LinkedIn into a social CRM system. So keep in mind, once you've connected with somebody on LinkedIn, sometimes you'll get some low-hanging fruit, aka someone's just happens to be ready for your service at that exact moment that you connected with them. But the reality is that's a very small percentage if we actually consider that. More realistically, it takes time to establish a relationship and to get people comfortable with who you are. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that the process of staying in touch with people is done as quickly and as efficiently and as non-obtrusively as possible. What you don't want to ever do is start pitching your product or your service to people that you're connecting with. Remember that they're connecting with you as a person, not you as an advertisement. It's going to turn everybody off. And just take my word for it. I've done extensive analysis on this, and there's no surefire way to get the worst results possible than to begin pitching. You're going way too fast. Treat this like a nice song and dance. It's a little bit of a song and dance period where you're getting used to each other. Don't ever bring up business. These other tactics that we're using are to draw people in to come read about you and your service when they feel like they want to. The point is that we want to make sure that you're front and center with them at all times. So when they're thinking about your service, they're thinking about you. So if they're thinking about, furniture manufacturing, if that's your role, furniture manufacturing, how many furniture manufacturers can you name right now off the top of your head? So the idea is that most people cannot keep this information in their minds, so they're going to quickly forget about you. However, if you're always around, just like those Google retargeted ads, I'm sure you've been on the internet and you visited one website and then you go to a completely different website, and that first website is following you everywhere. And you'll see it on YouTube, you'll see it on other websites. That's just called retargeting of ads. This is the same sort of idea, only since there's no actual Google behind this to actually manage that, you need to do it yourself. So what you want to do is that even when you've connected with somebody and they're not ready to buy right now, it doesn't mean that they're not ready to buy in the future. So you want to make sure that when they are in getting closer to that buying stage in the buying cycle, that they're going to be thinking about you, because most people can only remember 1 to 3 names of a certain service provider. Like I said, think of furniture manufacturing. Think of chiropractors right now. Name 10 chiropractors. It's pretty much impossible. You probably, unless you're in the industry, you probably can name 1 to 3 chiropractors at the top of your mind. Name 3 lawyers. Name 10 personal car detailers. Name 10 insurance agents. The point is that 10 is way too much. You just need to slip into their conscious of your target prospect by always being around, and you don't want to be obtrusive. You don't want to be sending them emails saying, hey, we connected a month ago, can we talk about some business? No, they'll come to you. And these methods that I'm showing you here will allow you to connect with a lot of people, so your efforts are expanded quite a bit. You'll be connecting instead of with 4 people, let's say 1,000 people over the next few months, and you have 1,000 qualified target demographic prospects. Out of them, for sure, a certain percentage of them will be ready to buy within the next few months. You just want to make sure that your profile is front and center, to make sure that when they're thinking about you, it's you that when they're thinking about your service, it's you that they're thinking about. So now the point is you have to manage this. Say you get connected with 1,000 people. How are you going to manage when to follow up with the person? How often do you do it? With what kind of frequency? Well, we do have some insights and some material about the sales funnel process. But that aside, assuming that you know how often you want to follow up with people, I like to stay in front of people every 2 to 4 weeks. Depends where they are in the buying cycle. If they're closer to the close, then you want to stay in touch with them multiple times a week. If they're far away from a close, you want to stay in touch with them, say, monthly. And staying in touch does not mean phoning, does not mean sending emails. Little things like social media can let you stay in touch. So for example, if you and I connect, I'm able to find you on Twitter, and I'm able to find you on Google+, and I'm able to find you on YouTube. You may have one of those accounts, 2 of those accounts, all of those accounts, or none of those accounts. The fact is that most people have some kind of social media, but most people do not announce where that social media is, because it's usually a personal social media. The cool thing is nowadays is that most people are pretty lazy when it comes to how they use their emails. They'll probably use the same email address on all their social media accounts. Do you? And if that's the case, there's software that's out there that can actually ping that email address against a number of different social media accounts. So just by connecting on LinkedIn, remember, we get your email address from LinkedIn, and you can just put that into a software program, and it'll just simply ping it against a number of different accounts. There's nothing strange about this. These are publicly available information since you've put your email address out there. And it will just tie together your LinkedIn profile with your Twitter account, which you may never announce on your Twitter account that you run, or that this prospect runs X, Y, and Z company, or that they are an insurance agent, or that they're anybody in particular. It may just be an anonymous Twitter account, but we can still find them. So the question is that how do you bring all of that information together and manage it in such a way where it's easy to do and it prompts you, and then your activities that you need to do on social media can be prompted. You don't need to think about 1,000 people yourself and how often do you follow up with them and how often do you see them. So in this little slide here, I've shown here that the first part of the stage that we've gone over is the connecting stage. This is where you're viewing profiles, you're connecting with people, and you're sending out the initial emails. Now during this stage here, the benefits are you're initially exposing your service to your prospect, and at this time here, you may get some low-hanging fruit. And this will be a small percentage depending upon your product or service, but there will be people for sure who you're going to connect with, or who you're going to view their profile with, or send the initial email introduction out to, that will be asking you for business. It typically goes up in this direction here. So when you view a profile, if you view, let's say, 500 profiles, 250 people view you back, and then some may say, hey, I saw you view my profile, I happen to be looking for someone in your industry. That is a rarity, but it does happen. When you begin to connect with people, you're going to see the percentage increase. So people will say, hey, thanks for connecting. It just so happens I'm looking for someone in your industry. But that's also, it's an increase from the viewing the profile, but it's still, few and far between when that does happen. But the email introductions, when you start this stage here, where you're starting to show that you are approachable, they're again going to be exposed to your service, and then you'll see some even more responses about them. Oh, hey, thanks for contacting me. It just so happens I'm looking for your product or service. Well, this is fantastic. Now, what happens outside of this stage here? Because after this first email introduction, if they didn't respond to your email, or if it just if you just asked, how's New York, or how's Tennessee, or how's London, and the conversation went dead there, so they said, yeah, it's great, thanks for asking, hope all is well with you. You don't want to push a conversation. But instead what you want to do, now you go to the next stage, which is keeping top of mind with these people. So this stage here is all about getting low-hanging fruit, connecting with the people. Once you've connected with people, remember that they can read your posts. So every time you make a post, there's a chance that these people are going to be reading your posts and getting familiar with you and your service. But what if they don't go on and read your posts? What happens then? You still can stay in touch with them by using top-of-mind methodologies that I'm about to show you here. You want to manage all of these different contacts in a CRM system. This way you can track all your actions, and you can set reminders of when to follow up with next actions. Then you want to engage with these actions. So these actions I'm talking about here are social actions. So things like engaging with people on Google+, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Now here's a fun little fact. You may not have a Google+ account, but chances are you do, because just by having a Gmail account, or having your account, your email account associated with Gmail, you automatically are set up for a Google+ account. And what that means is whether you use Google+ or not, if I engage with you on Google+, you're going to get a notification that I engage with you. So remember, the point of this is not necessarily that we're trying to, send over big case studies and do in-depth, thorough research, for these different prospects. The point is, we want touches. I want people to open up their email and once a week see some kind of notification from Twitter, from Google+, from LinkedIn, that I just shared something of theirs that they shared. I just retweeted something of theirs that they retweet, or that they tweeted. I just endorsed them on LinkedIn. All of these actions that I can proactively do on their different accounts will send them an email notification. Now, that email notification will say my name, and then they're going to see who sent it. And I'm not doing any sales, but it's a really simple way of staying in touch with people. And so this is how we manage it. So there's a basic way of doing this. So there's a basic social CRM system, which Nimble CRM is what we're going to use for this example here. It's a nice low-cost solution. It does basic social gathering on its own, i.e. it actually grabs easily available social media accounts based on the email that you get from LinkedIn. So you export your connections from LinkedIn, you import it into Nimble CRM, and Nimble CRM will do a cursory view to see if it can grab a Twitter account, to see if it can find another account that might be out there. Now, this is not the best way of doing social gathering. In other words, it's not the most exhaustive. There are better ways of doing that, and that would take us into the more intermediate social CRM system. There's still an advanced social CRM system that we implement, and an expert one as well. So it can get quite more in depth, but rather than losing the audience, this here just gives an idea about how much more detailed this can be. So in this example here, we're going to export the connections from LinkedIn, import them into a service called Full Contact. Full Contact does a much better job at grabbing social data. Then that syncs with your Google Contacts. And the reason you want it synced with Google Contacts is that you own your Google Contacts. Most people don't realize that every time you send an email to somebody, every single time you send an email to somebody, a contact is created in Gmail. And it's done in the Google Contacts section, which I'll show you how to use that. So, but you own your Google Contacts. If you stop paying for the Full Contact service, which is a paid service, or if your LinkedIn account, if LinkedIn goes out of business or they shut down, you're going to lose all your connections. You're going to lose all your connections here. You'll never lose these connections. So you always want everything synced to Google Contacts for that reason, because you'll never lose it. But secondly, is that Google integrates with everything. So Google Contacts is your base jumping off point always. You always want to have everything work from there. So then what you do in this intermediate social CRM system is you export from Google Contacts, and then you import them into Nimble CRM. Because what you're going to export from here will have much more information inside, because it just came from Full Contact. As opposed to the basic CRM system, which goes from LinkedIn to Nimble, it's basic information going into these two here. So you're going to have to do some more digging around to find information, but we're all about saving time. If you're only importing 10 contacts, then just go ahead and import it from LinkedIn into Nimble. But what if you're integrating 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 contacts? You definitely don't want to be doing manual searching for any of that stuff. So that's why we start with LinkedIn. You export their connections into Full Contact. This will do a sweep and grab a whole bunch of social data that syncs it with Google Contacts. This then exports into Nimble CRM with some custom exporting and some custom fields you have to actually create. And then Nimble CRM syncs with Gmail. So any activities that you're going to have with Gmail now will sync with inside of inside the CRM system here. And then EverContact. This is a handy little service that if somebody sends you an email into your Gmail account, and it has all of their phone numbers, their fax machine, if anybody uses fax anymore, but it's got any data inside their signature, EverContact grabs any signatures from somebody else and imports it into Google Contacts. So it syncs it with Google Contacts, and this circle just keeps going around and around and around. So there's a little bit of manual work that's got to be done here, but with this, once you get the hang of this, you're going to have an incredibly thorough, detailed, accurate CRM system. And then from the Nimble CRM system, in this case here, this is now where we're going to be doing the engaging on social media. This is where now you're going to have in somebody's contact information in the CRM system, you can now see their Twitter account, their Facebook account, their Google Plus account. And so now you go, okay, well today I've been reminded to touch this person, and what am I going to touch them on? I'll touch them on Google Plus, and I'll go follow them on Google Plus. They'll get an email notification that I followed. Or if I've got their Instagram and I have an Instagram, then I'll go repin one of their, or I'll go favorite one of their Instagram posts, or I'll go endorse them on LinkedIn. But you need a way to be able to track that, and then you want it all managed through a CRM system to prompt you. Okay, so here's how this all comes together. So from the LinkedIn profile, you export the connections, you go to Connections, you click up here, you go Export LinkedIn Connections, keep it in the Microsoft Outlook.csv file, export. It'll ask you for a CAPTCHA, probably. Okay, so it exported my connections right there. I'm going to take these connections, so if we look at how this works, okay, so in here we can see that it has exported first names, last names, email addresses, job titles, and that's about it. There's no social information, there's no phone numbers, there's no addresses, there's no cities, there's none of that stuff that's inside there, and the company name. So this is a very, very, very basic export of information. However, the key in this case here is name and email address. It's those email addresses that we're going to be able to ping against a bunch of different profiles to see what we can get. So from the LinkedIn export here, so from the LinkedIn Connections export, if we were doing the basic social CRM integration, I can just import it from LinkedIn into Nimble CRM, and then it will put all those contacts into Nimble CRM with that basic information that we found. And Nimble CRM, which I'll show you here, will then try to grab some social networks. So it's seeing the last name, and it's seeing if it can find the last name on the internet and say, you know, is this person, and it'll try to do its best job it can to try to identify who these people are. But this is not the best engine to do this in. So the more intermediate way of doing this is using full contact. Now in full contact, to show the difference here, if I import from LinkedIn into Nimble, I'm only going to be able to import the name, as we saw here, the name, the email address, the company name, his title, and that's all that would be put inside here. And then Nimble will try to go and find some of their other profiles inside here. But I'll be able to find their Twitter account, maybe if they have a Foursquare account, something like that. However, full contact, you'll see here, the same person has been able to grab all these different URLs that are out there because this person's using the same email address for all of this. It found their Google Talk account, their Yahoo account, their Skype account, their America Online Instant Messenger, whoever uses that anymore, and all these different accounts, Vimeo, Tumblr. Now, it's not just grabbing it from the email account, but if on his Google Plus account he has a bunch of different links that shows his SlideShare account and his About Me account, it's going to sync all of those together. So this is a fantastic service that really knows how to grab information. So now, from here, full contact does not integrate into Nimble CRM. Unfortunately, there's no direct integration. So full contact now has to sync up with Gmail. So I've set this up so that it sends the information from here into Google Contacts. And how you find Google Contacts is normally you're in your Gmail here. You start like this, you go up to the top and click the drop down, click on contacts, and voila, here's all your contacts. Most people don't even know that this even exists, but it does. And this will show you all your different contacts. So these contacts here, the 1363, is the same number that we'll see inside of full contact here, because it syncs them together. So the information from that contact in full contact, there's 1363 and there's 1363. Now all that information that we saw in full contact is now inside Google. And the good thing about that is I can now export this, put this into a custom CSV file, and import that now into Nimble CRM. And once I've done that, then I'm going to have a whole bunch of more information here. And then when this person here, when it comes up time, when it reminds me to say, hey, be in touch with this person once a week, once a month, whatever the case is, then it'll prompt me and I can decide, how do I want to engage with this person? Well, I can go and follow him. And if I follow him, he's going to get a notification that I just followed him. That's an easy way, boom, right there, I can stay in touch with him. So then I would simply say here, I would say Twitter followed. And I'd write my little note here. And then when I come back to his profile in a month, because this little reminder here is going to prompt me in a month to come back and follow him, I'm going to see that I followed him on the 17th of March. And so now I can say, okay, well, if I followed him on Twitter, maybe I'll want to engage with him now on Twitter. Or in this case here, I'm going to have a whole bunch of other profiles of him. So maybe I want to engage with him somewhere else, on Google Plus, on Vimeo, or wherever I want to engage with him. The point is that he's going to see my profile all around him. So if we think about the efficacy of that, is that no matter what, no matter where this person goes, our client is going to be in front of this person constantly and in a nice, unobtrusive manner, but he's going to always be seeing her. So just like Google retargeting of ads, you can do the exact same thing with the CRM system. So just a quick overview. The first stage of connecting with people is the connecting stage, where you're viewing profiles. They're coming back to view, your target prospects are coming back to view your profile. As a result, they're being exposed to you and your service. You may get some low-hanging fruit. It's a very small percentage. One of the cons with just doing that is that you'll be completely forgotten soon. Right? So if no activity is taken from that viewing, they'll never remember you after that, obviously. That's why we go for the connection. So we want to connect with the person after that. Once we connected with the person, now they have a chance to see your posts, ideally. And so even if you never sent an email introduction or anything, they'll still be getting familiar with you, that they can read your posts. And also, too, if they're searching through their contacts and they want to search for an accountant or they want to search for a life insurance person, or they want to search for a printer manufacturer, or they want to search for whatever your service is, since you're connected with them, they can search you out, just like searching your own Rolodex once you're connected. So that's great too. But the problem with that is, again, you're quickly forgotten as well. If you're not staying in touch with someone and they don't actually know you, then they have no reason to remember you. That's why we do the email introduction, to step that connection part up. It shows that you're more approachable, and it again exposes your service to your prospect, because chances are they're going to go even back to your profile again to go see what you're about. Even though you're not selling anything, remember, in this email introduction, you're just saying hi. Most people, what we see with statistics, is that they will go back to your profile to see, once again, who's this person, what do they do? It's kind of nice that they send me an email, that's great. And you'll see people coming back to your profile again. That means we're seeing at least 1, 2, 3 different times where people are viewing your profile. And what did that cost you? Just a couple of little activities, and you're now stepping up who you are in their mind. And all of these can bring in some low-hanging fruit. The problem with all of them is that if there's not a stage after this, you will be forgotten. 3 months later, if nothing else happens besides this, they'll completely forget who you are. That's why, once you're connected, the social CRM is tantamount to any kind of properly run sales system. So you want to manage all your activities via CRM so you and your team can see how often you're in touch with someone, because you certainly don't want to bombard somebody, and you don't want to forget if you've contacted them so that you contact them too much or you contact them too little. And how we're going to be contacting and touching these people is using social media. Everybody has social media accounts. Everybody. Whether they have it publicly listed or not, people use Twitter, people automatically get Google+, whether they like it or not. So these are all different ways that we can touch these people without sending emails and calling these people, because no one wants to be bothered by a salesperson or anybody who's selling a product. But there's certainly no shame in being around somebody. And the best part about engaging on social, remember, is that people have social media accounts to be social. You go to a networking event to network. If you don't want to engage with people on social media, you don't have a social media account. If you have a social media account, you're welcoming social activities. There's nothing wrong with doing this whatsoever. People love connecting and engaging with people. It's a nice, friendly, easy, soft way for people to get familiar with who you are. And so we just want a way to manage that so you don't overburden somebody, and at the same time, you don't completely keep forgetting about them. You want to stay on top of these target prospects here. So I now have to import all these different connections inside here, because I have a lot more data, as we can see in this case here, which was not imported by the initial import. So I'm now going to put this into a special customized CSV file and import that into Nimble myself. Once it gets imported into Nimble, it's going to look something closer to this. So as you can see here, so this is an example that I did where we have custom fields set up. So now I can come back to this person's profile and I can see, okay, where do I want to interact with this person? Let's go to Pinterest. So just double click that. I'd have the Pinterest account loaded up, and I'd go to the Pinterest account, and then boom, I'd go and interact with them right there. So it's as simple as that. Once you interact with the person, you always want to make sure that you log the touch. So you write down Pinterest interacted, so that you can see, when you come back to the history, you can see how many times you've touched this person. We just imported this person, so that's why there's no activity here. But you'd see over time, touch March 17th, touch February 28th, touch February 14th, touch February 1st. So you can see that you're in constant touch with this person. And this person doesn't even need to respond or anything. It doesn't make a difference. We're just trying to stay in front of this person. That's all. So I'm going to go ahead and import all the different contacts. Anybody who is familiar with this stuff, you'll notice as well that sometimes when you're importing contacts, you may have duplicate contacts. If you're using Nimble CRM, here's a little tip that I'll give you, use undupe, because you can manually go and merge all the different contacts inside of Nimble yourself. But if you're dealing with thousands of contacts, trust me, you don't want to do that. This thing is what, $30 a month, and it'll automatically merge all your contacts for you without losing any data. The only issue is that it may disassociate a contact from a deal or a case, but that's a small price to pay for properly managed CRM. So in any event, that's for the tech people out there who understand this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and import all these different contacts inside of here and get this CRM system set up so that when we go to this client here, I can see all of these different clients and all these different people here, and we'll be able to see the last time we touched them. We'll have reminders set up. We want to stay in touch with this person once a week, once a month, whatever the case is, and you can run it now here. So I'll be sent a reminder here. It'll say, okay, you need to touch this person. I'll click his profile, go to Twitter, touch it, boom, make a note, and then go to the next person. And I can probably hit a couple hundred people in a day this way. So over the course of a month, you'd be surprised how many people you can actually stay in front of. So here's a great little tutorial on how to use some social CRM systems.